So it seems like 2020 has been the worst year for a lot of people, especially Americans, since they've been hit with the most cases of the virus, almost gotten into a war with Iran, and then with themselves. For Russia, however, the answer may be different. Some may say it was the year 1905 that brought Russia to its knees. Here's a few reasons why. Russia was, at the time, still a monarchy ruled by the Tsar and was fighting Japan. And even though Russia has been beaten over and over again, it wouldn't be until its navy got destroyed that Tsar decided to end the war with a treaty which embarrassed Russia on a world stage. Then the Bloody Sunday took place, where peaceful protesters were massacred by the Tsar's army. That was followed by the First Russian Revolution. The Tsar was at this point forced to give people more freedom by creating the State Duma, which he really didn't want to do, so he made it as bad as he could. It was for this reason that young Bolsheviks decided to organize a conference and discuss the newly formed State Duma and the future revolts against the Tsar. Since St. Petersburg was the capital, it only made sense to meet there. However, there was a small problem. The capital was heavily guarded and controlled by the Tsar's secret police, so obviously they would hunt down any Bolsheviks lurking around organizing assassination or a protest. So they went with the city of Tampere in Finland, which was at the time still part of a Russian empire. It wasn't heavily guarded, and the rebels even gained support from the Finns. Yeah, the Finns would support anyone who is willing to fight Russians, even if that means supporting other Russians. Yeah, let that sink in. So when December came around, it was finally time for the meeting. That would be an exciting day for young Stalin because he knew he would run into Lenin. He heard a lot about him and his actions, and based on what he heard, he expected Lenin to be a strong, fearless man. He even called Lenin the mountain eagle of revolution. However, when they met in the meeting room of Tampere Workers' Hall, Stalin realized that Lenin has been lying in his Tinder bio about his height. He was much smaller and weaker than Stalin actually expected. Lenin, on the other hand, didn't really pay much attention to Stalin, and it would be much later that he realized just how important Stalin would be for the future of the Soviet Union. But for now, he gave Stalin a few tasks to achieve. Lenin liked just how committed Stalin really was to the cause, as he would put it. Stalin spoke quite a few languages, had experience in robbing and collecting money for the party. He was ruthless and iron-minded, and Lenin didn't fail to notice that. Sadly, there is very little evidence of the meeting, and of course no pictures, since the meeting was a secret. So it also is clear that it would spark quite a lot of myths and legends. The place where they've met is today a museum dedicated to Lenin, the only one of its kind outside of ex-Soviet countries. It opened its doors after World War II and served as a symbol for the Finno-Soviet relationship. Stalin was, at the time of the opening, the president of the Soviet Union, and it is said that upon hearing the news about the opening of the museum, he was positively surprised and started reminiscing of that cold day in December where he first ran into Lenin. The museum became a pilgrimage of many Soviet and Finnish sympathizers. After all, Lenin was the one who promised them independence and would later recognize them as an independent land. And the museum was actually run by the volunteers, not the Communist Party. It is still open today, and you can still visit the meeting room where 115 years ago Lenin and Stalin first shook their hands.